Okay, I'm here in volume number 4, CAMI assignment. And number 1, we're going to find the volume of this figure. Okay, remember to find the volume of the figure, capital V volume equals length times width times height. Okay, so let's write that down. Now, as you can see here, we have sort of this composite figure here made up of more than one prism. We have a large prism and a small prism. And we can cut this prism. We could cut it right there, and we would have, I'll put L for large prism and then S for small prism. So let's find the volume of the large prism and the volume of the small prism, and then add their volumes together to get the volume of the entire figure. So for the volume of the large prism, let's identify the length. The length, which would be from right here to right here, right? That is the length. And we know that's 0.7 because we know that from here to here is the same thing as from here to here. And so this right here is my length. Okay, so this part right here is going to be 0.7. So that's what I'll put in for L right here. So go ahead and put that in for L, your length. Your length is 0.7 centimeters. Okay, now let's identify the width. Okay, so how wide this is. So that would be from this green dot to that green dot. How wide is it? Well, if from here to here is 0.7, then it's the same thing from here to here, right? Both of these are 0.7. Okay, so this is the width of the prism. So I'm going to plug that in for W. Okay, next I need my height. How tall is this prism? Well, right here is going to be the height. From here to here, right, straight down, that would be the height of the prism. So that is 2.1. So that's what I put in for H. Okay, so if we multiply 0.7 times 0.7 times 2.1, I will get the volume of this larger prism. Okay, so I got 0.7 times 0.7. Well, you know that 7 times 7 is 49, right? Because of our fact fluency. And then if I just count how many digits are after the decimal, 1, 2 digits after the decimal point, right? There's 1 digit here after the decimal, and there's 1 digit here after the decimal. And so that means there would be 1, 2 digits after the decimal in your answer. So 0.7 times 0.7 would be 0.49. Now you still need to multiply by 2.1. And so I got 0.49 times 2.1. You need to show me this. Okay. Notice that when I'm multiplying decimals, I don't need to line my decimal up. I do line my digits up. Notice how the 9 and the 1 are stacked up and the 4 and the 2 are stacked up. I would encourage you to put 0.49 on top when multiplying because it has more digits. So I'm going to multiply as normal. 1 times 9 is 9. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 0 is 0, so I don't really need to write that part. I could if I want to. Okay, I've used that one. On my second row, I add placeholder 0 and continue multiplying as normal. 2 times 9 is 18, so I carry the 1, put the 8. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. And of course, 2 times 0 is 0, so I'd have a 0 out here. Let's add. 9 plus 0 is 9. 4 plus 8 is 12. So carry the 1. And 1 plus 9 is 10. Okay, I'm going to count to see how many digits are after the decimal point. Got 1, 2, 3. There are 3 digits after the decimal in the numbers that I'm multiplying together. And so in my answer down here, there should be 3 digits after the decimal. So it'd be 1.029. So that the 0, the 2, and the 9 are after the decimal. And so this right here is the volume of larger prism. Okay, if I put text box in here, I could put volume of large prism. Okay, now let's do the same thing to find the volume of the smaller prism so that we can add the two together. Okay, so volume of small prism is still length times width times height. So let's identify the length. So we know that we just said that from here to here is 0.7, and it says all the way across is 1.4. So that means from here to here is also 0.7. right? If from here to here is 0.7 and from here to here is 0.7, that means all the way across would be 1.4. Okay, so this 0.7 is the length of this small prism. Okay, what about the width? Well, we said that from here to here, this width is also 0.7. So I'll plug that in for the width, 0.7. And then the height. Notice that from here to here, the height of this small prism is also 0.7. And so this rectangular prism is actually a special rectangular prism because the length, the width, and the height are all the same length. And so we call this a cube, right? So let's multiply 0.7 times 0.7. We know that's 0.49. Right? Because 7 times 7 is 49, and there are 2 digits after the decimal. And so in your answer, there's also 2 digits after the decimal. So 0.49, you still got to multiply by 0.7. So 0.49 times 0.7. Again, notice how I'm not lining the decimals up when I'm multiplying. 9 times 7 is 63. 7 times 4 is 28. 28 plus 6 is 34. Okay, and so I don't really need to multiply anymore because 0 times this, 0 times this, and 0 times this are all zeros. And so the last thing that I need to do is place my decimal. I have 1, 2, 3 digits after the decimal. And so in my answer, there should be 1, 2, 3 digits after the decimal. So this is 0.343. This is the volume of the small prism. So this is volume of small prism. Okay, so to get the volume of the total prism, I would simply add 1.029 because this is the volume of my large prism, right? 1.029, and then add 0.343. Notice here, since I'm adding decimals, that I am lining my decimals up because I'm adding decimals. Okay, so I put a plus sign. I am adding volume of large prism versus plus volume of small prism. Okay, now I'm just going to add as normal. 9 plus 3 is 12. So I'm showing how I'm carrying the numbers. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7. 0 plus 3 is 3. My decimal comes directly down. My decimal comes directly down when adding decimals. So it's right there. And 1 plus 0 is 1. So this is 1.372. The last thing that I should do is label my answer. Area is in square units, but volume is in cubic units. So this is centimeters cubed. Okay, this is the volume of the prism, 1.372. Okay, number 2 right here, I have this figure that I need to find the volume of. I'm finding volume, and right here, I have a section cut out of it. Okay, this is a section that is cut out of it. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to find the volume of the large prism, and then I'm going to find this volume of the prism that's cut out, like this cut out section. And so I will take that away from the volume of the entire prism. So let's first find the volume of the, what I could call the large prism. Okay, volume of large prism. So I'm going to find the volume of this thing, assuming that that section is not cut out. So volume equals length times width times height. All right, so the length would be right here. That would be 1. The width, how wide this is, that would be 0.4. And then how tall is this? Well, if from here to here is 0.6, then that means from here to here is also 0.6. That would be the height. Okay, so for length, I'm going to plug in 1. For the width, I'm going to plug in 0.4. And for the height, I'm going to plug in 0.6. Okay, now what if I multiply these two first, 0.4 times 0.6? Well, you know 4 times 6 is 24, right? Because of your fact fluency. And then you have this digit that's after the decimal point and this digit that is after the decimal point. So 2 total digits after the decimal point, and so your decimal would go right there. This would be 0.24. So 0.4 times 0.6 is 0.24, and then you still got to multiply by 1, but 0.24 times 1 is simply 0.24. Okay, so the volume of large prism is 0.24. Now, let's find the volume of this section that we cut out. If we cut that section out. So let me call this volume of cut out prism. Volume of the prism that's cut out. So again, volume is length times width times height. Okay, so the length would be right here, 0.4. The width, so the width here is sort of a little bit maybe tricky to see. The width is from here, okay, like the front of the prism to the back of the prism, okay? And that would be the same as this right here. Okay, this right here is 0.4. From the front of the prism to the back of the prism is 0.4. And so that is the width. That's how wide it is. And then the height, how high is this cutout section? Well, from here to here, that's 0.4. Okay, so again, the length, the width, and the height are all the same length. And so this is a cube. That is a cube that is cut out. So 0.4 times 0.4, you know 4 times 4 is 16. And then again, you have 2 digits after the decimal. And so there would be your decimal, and you would have 0.16. Still going to multiply by 0.4. So 0.16 times 0.4. This would be 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. Okay, and then you have 1, 2, 3 digits that are after the decimal. And so if I were to continue multiplying there, I did 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 2 is 6. And then 4 times 0 is 0. Okay, and so now I can see a little bit clearer that I should have these 3 digits after the decimal, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 digits after the decimal. And so this is 0.064. That is the volume of the cut out prism. Okay, so to get the volume of the figure with this cut out, I need to take volume of large prism minus volume of cut out prism. Okay, because that prism has been taken out. So of course it's no longer there. And if I've taken it out, I need to subtract. Okay, so volume of large prism was 0.24. 0.24. And volume of cutout prism we just found was 0.064. Notice that I am subtracting here, and so I line my decimals up. I have to line my decimals up when I subtract. And so do you see right here how there is no digit? I need to add a placeholder 0 so that I can subtract. Okay, so 0 minus 4, that's not 4. 0 minus 4, you need to borrow. So you borrow from the 4, it becomes a 3. So now this 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 3 minus 6 requires you to borrow again. So the 1 becomes a 2, the 3 becomes a 13. 13 minus 6 is 7. 1 minus 0 is 1. Your decimal comes directly down. And then 0 minus 0 is 0. So this is 0.176. And this is volume. So this is centimeters cubed. Centimeters cubed. That is the volume of the prism with the prism that's being cut out, with it being taken out. What you're left with is 0.176 centimeters cubed. Okay, so show all of your work to find the volume of this prism. So remember, volume equals length times width times height. Okay, this would be your length. How wide the prism is, that would be right there. And this is height. Okay, so you would plug each one of these in. Length is 10 times width of 3.2 times height of 5. Okay, so first if you did 10 times 3.2, remember that when multiplying by 10 is the same thing as moving the decimal 1 space to the right. And so on 3.2, if you go 1 space to the right, that becomes 32. Still going to multiply by 5. So 32 times 5, that's going to give you the volume of the prism. And then be sure to label in cubic units. This would be meters cubed. Meters cubed. Okay, number 4 right here, you can read the situation. You're going to be adding decimals together. You buy a DVD player for this, a case for this, and a player for this. So you need to add these 3 things up. You're adding decimals. I need to see how you line the decimals up and how you added these 3 together to see if she has enough money to buy these 3 things, if she has $215 with her, and then explain why or why not. Okay, number 5 here, peanuts cost $6.59 per pound. That means it's $6.59 for every pound, and you want to buy 3.5 pounds. So 3.5 as a decimal would look like this, right? 3.5. And if you're buying peanuts per pound, the word per signals that you're going to be multiplying. Okay, so I'm going to have $6.59 times the number of pounds, which is 3.5. Okay, so 6.59 times 3.5. And you might need to round here to the nearest cent. Remember that money has 2 digits after the decimal. And so if you multiply here and get 3 digits after the decimal, you have to round to the nearest cent.